The anticipation surrounding a clash between Saul, Canelo Alvarez, and Terence "Bud" Crawford was unlike anything boxing had seen in years. It wasn't just another fight. It was a collision of two legacies, two worlds colliding under the bright lights of superstardom. On one side stood Canelo, the Mexican powerhouse who carried the aura of a champion who had seen it all, weathered storms, and carved his name into history across multiple weight divisions. On the other side was Crawford, the undefeated tactician, the fighter whose slick mastery and fearless ambition had already made him one of the most respected names in the sport. Together, they represented the dream matchup: speed and finesse against size and power, hunger against legacy, the new storm against the old mountain. In the weeks before fight night, both men disappeared into their training camps, separate worlds of sweat and sacrifice that built anticipation with every clip that leaked. Crawford's camp was a story of transformation. Moving up in weight, he carefully rebuilt his body. His coaches added muscle without sacrificing speed. Every meal, every lift, every sparring round aimed at keeping the slick reflexes that defined his greatness intact. He sparred bigger men, absorbed their pressure, and sharpened his movement so that when the moment came, he could disappear in front of Canelo's heavy artillery and reappear with precision counters. Crawford wasn't just bulking up. He was preparing to carry the weight of history. Canelo's camp looked different, but no less intense. A veteran of countless wars, he drilled fundamentals with relentless discipline: the heavy bag, the mitts, the sparring. Yet mixed in were unorthodox routines, the kind of drills that reminded everyone why Canelo had remained elite for so long. He kicked a soccer ball to sharpen his vision and footwork, worked on timing drills that pushed his instincts, and carried himself with the calm swagger of a man who had been in every kind of storm. To the outside world, Crawford's rise and Canelo's reign looked like two different stories. But inside the camps, the grind was the same: early mornings, aching bodies, and the relentless chase of perfection. As the fight drew closer, the voices of boxing's legends filled the air with predictions. Roy Jones Jr., himself a master who once climbed from middleweight to heavyweight glory, saw shades of his own journey in Crawford. Jones admitted that size differences mattered less when brilliance was in play. "Terence has been bulking up to the weight just like I did as a heavyweight," Jones explained. "If he can deal with super middleweights and light heavyweights in training, he can deal with them in the fight. The weight should not be an issue." And when pressed on where he'd place his bet, Jones leaned toward Crawford, arguing that Bud had 6 ways to win it compared to Canelo's 1. It was as bold as it was honest, and it painted Crawford not as the underdog, but as the man with more tools in his arsenal. Not everyone shared the same faith. Ryan Garcia, a young star in his own right, admitted Crawford would have moments of brilliance, landing punches, flashing speed, but doubted they would have much effect on Canelo's legendary chin. "Bud's gonna do good," Garcia said, "but I don't think he's gonna win." To him, Canelo's durability was unlike anything Crawford had faced before. "He's got the best chin I've ever seen. Nothing moves his head." For Garcia, Crawford was biting off more than he could chew, daring to climb too high against a man who thrived in these heavier divisions. Andre Ward, the undefeated former champion whose words carry the weight of deep ring knowledge, studied the fight with the sharpness that made him one of the sport's best analysts. Ward pointed to Canelo's ring presence, the quiet control he exerted simply by walking forward, forcing opponents to work when they didn't want to. But Ward also saw something in Crawford that couldn't be ignored: an ability to adapt, to figure opponents out, to impose his will in ways that couldn't be measured on paper. "I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now," Ward said flatly. "Somebody has got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will." The fight was dissected from every angle. Crawford was daring to climb into unknown territory, moving up to super middleweight, chasing greatness with a risk that could ruin lesser fighters. Questions swirled. Would his power carry up with him? Would his speed fade under the extra muscle? And was this the moment his perfect timing and dominance would finally meet their limit? For Canelo, the questions were different but just as sharp. His last outing, a dull, unanimous decision win over William Skull, left critics wondering if his intensity had dimmed, if his best years were behind him. He was still Canelo, skilled, experienced, dangerous. But was he still the Canelo who hunted with ferocity, who carried that second and third wind when champions refused to fade? Former world champion Jeff Horn, who had once tasted Crawford's precision firsthand, offered a prediction colored by personal experience. Horn remembered how Crawford broke him down in 2018, knocking him out in the 9th round. He believed Canelo would try to overwhelm Crawford early, use his size and power to impose himself. But Horn also warned that if Crawford survived those opening storms, the fight could turn. "Crawford outsmarts him in there," Horn said. "He could tire Canelo out and stop him later in the fight, like he did with myself." What made the fight so compelling wasn't just the clash of styles, but the contrast of questions. Could Canelo still summon the hunger of his prime? Could Crawford bend weight divisions to his will and beat a man who had ruled them for years? Every fighter's career comes to these moments when doubts swirl and critics question, but it is in these storms that greatness is tested. Both men carried legacies into the ring, one defending his empire, the other chasing immortality. When fight week finally arrived, the city came alive. Cameras followed them to media workouts, weigh-ins, and press conferences. The experts spoke of Hagler, Leonard, Duran, and Hearns, of Sanchez and Gomez, names from the golden eras. They placed Canelo versus Crawford in that lineage, a fight worthy of history, the kind that reminded fans why they fell in love with the sport in the first place. And yet, for all the talk, the reality remained simple. When the bell rang, it would not be the words of experts or the weight of predictions that mattered. It would be the fists, the stamina, the split-second decisions, the willingness to take risks and absorb punishment. Preparation, legacy, hype, all of it would dissolve into the pure, violent truth of the ring. This was the fight that wasn't supposed to happen, a dream matchup brought to life. And in that ring, whether it ended with Crawford's precision or Canelo's power, whether it went the distance or ended in a single violent flurry, boxing fans knew they were witnessing something rare, two greats colliding in a moment that would live forever. So, what about you? Who do you believe holds the edge in this super fight? Does Crawford's adaptability and hunger push him past the mountain of Canelo, or does the Mexican superstar's size, experience, and chin prove too much? Share your thoughts below.